The morning sun painted the sky orange over New Jeju Colony, as 8-year-old Han Sol chased his twin sister Yoo-jin through their grandmother's vegetable garden. The children laughed as they ran between rows of earth tomatoes and alien purple, beans that grew well in the colony's rich soil. Their grandmother called from the kitchen window that breakfast was ready, but the twins were too busy playing tag to listen. New Jeju was a peaceful place where humans had built a new life, far from the crowded worlds of Earth. The colony had farms and small towns scattered across green valleys. Most families came here to escape the noise and pollution of the inner worlds. They wanted a simple life growing food and raising children under open skies. Han Sol was faster than his sister, but Yoo-jin was smarter. She ducked behind the tool shed and waited for her brother to run past. When he did, she jumped out and tagged him on the shoulder. "You're it now," she said with a big smile. Han Sol pretended to be angry, but he was laughing too. The children did not know that 12 large ships had appeared at the edge of their star system an hour ago. The ships belonged to the Galactic Empire, and they were painted in the dark colors that all species in the galaxy had learned to fear. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of the largest ship looking down at the small human world below. "Another primitive human settlement," he said to his officers. "These creatures multiply like insects. They spread to every empty world they can find." Vextar was tall and pale with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red in the dark. His species had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They believed that only the strong deserved to control the stars and that weaker species should serve or stay out of the way. Humans were new to space travel and seemed weak to the Empire. Most Empire citizens thought humans were barely intelligent. "Sir, the humans are sending us a message," said Captain Zor. He was Vextar's second in command and shared his admiral's low opinion of human intelligence. "They want to know why we are here." "Tell them we are conducting a routine inspection," Vextar replied. "All human settlements must be checked for illegal weapons or technology. We will land troops in 1 hour." The message was sent to New Jeju's small government building. Mayor Kim tried to contact the Human Defense Fleet, but the Empire ships were jamming all long-range communications. He gathered the town council to decide what to do. Most council members were farmers and shop owners who had never dealt with the Empire before. "Maybe they really are just checking on us," said one council member. "We have nothing to hide." "The Empire has been more aggressive lately," said another. "I heard they attacked a human mining station last month for no good reason." Mayor Kim made the decision that would doom his town. "We will cooperate, but we will not let them search our homes without proper legal papers. Humans have rights under galactic law." Han Sol and Yoo-jin were eating breakfast when the first Empire shuttles landed in the town square. The children watched from their grandmother's window as tall alien soldiers in black armor stepped out of the ships. The soldiers carried weapons that hummed with energy, and their faces were hidden behind dark helmets. "Why are the funny-looking people here, Grandma?" Yoo-jin asked. Her grandmother had lived through the early days of human space travel, when contact with aliens was new and often dangerous. She felt a cold fear in her stomach as she watched more shuttles landing. "I don't know, dear," she said. "Stay inside and don't go out to play today." Admiral Vextar walked through the town square with 20 guards around him. Human civilians watched from doorways and windows as the Empire forces spread out through the streets. Mayor Kim approached with 5 council members to greet the admiral officially. "Welcome to New Jeju," Mayor Kim said. "We received your message about an inspection. We are happy to cooperate with Empire law." Vextar looked down at the short human with disgust. He hated having to speak to inferior species, but galactic law required some basic diplomatic contact. "You will provide a complete list of all weapons and military equipment on this world. My soldiers will search all buildings and question your people." "Of course," Mayor Kim replied, "but we will need to see proper inspection warrants first. Our people have rights under the Galactic Accords." The Admiral's 4 eyes narrowed with anger. No lesser species had ever demanded legal papers from him before. In the Empire's view, humans should be grateful that they were allowed to exist at all. "You dare to make demands of the Empire," he said in a loud voice. "We only ask for our legal rights," Mayor Kim said calmly. The same rights given to all member species. Captain Zor stepped forward and whispered to his admiral. Sir, these humans are showing disrespect. If word spreads that we allowed this other species might think they can challenge Empire authority too. Vextar nodded slowly. The Empire's power came from fear and absolute obedience. If humans began acting like they had rights equal to Empire citizens, it would set a dangerous example. Other species might begin making similar demands. You have forgotten your place, the Admiral said to Mayor Kim. It seems humans need a reminder of who rules the galaxy. The Admiral raised one hand and his soldiers immediately raised their weapons. Mayor Kim and the council members stepped back in fear. They had hoped that cooperation would keep their people safe, but they could see now that the Empire had not come for any inspection. Please, Mayor Kim said. Our people are peaceful farmers. We have done nothing wrong. Your crime is showing disrespect to Empire authority, Vexitar replied. The punishment will serve as an example to other humans who forget their place. The soldiers forced Mayor Kim and the council members to kneel in the town square. More soldiers went into buildings and dragged out other citizens, including women and children. Hansol and Yujin were pulled from their grandmother's house despite her tears and protests. Grandma, Yujin cried as soldiers in black armor carried her toward the square. Hansol tried to break free and run back to the house, but the soldier, holding him, was too strong. 100 human civilians were forced to stand in the square while Admiral Vextar chose which ones would die. His goal was not to kill everyone, but to pick victims whose deaths would cause the most fear. He pointed at Mayor Kim and 3 council members. Then his red eyes fell on the 2 young children. These small ones, he said, pointing at Hansol and Yujin. Their deaths will be remembered. Other human parents will think twice before showing disrespect to the Empire. The executions were broadcast on all Empire communication channels as Admiral Vextar had ordered. He wanted every human settlement in the galaxy to see what happened to those who questioned Empire authority. Hansol held his sister's hand as the energy weapons powered up. Yujin was crying and calling for her grandmother, but the old woman was being held back by soldiers. The weapons fired, and 2 children who had been playing in a garden that morning were dead. The other humans in the square screamed and wept while Empire soldiers stood guard to prevent anyone from helping. Admiral Vextar watched with satisfaction as his message was sent across human space. 3 star systems away, General Li Dahi stood in the command center of the human battle fleet studying tactical reports from the Outer Rim. She was known throughout human space as the Iron Storm for her brilliant strategies and ruthless efficiency in battle. No enemy force had ever defeated her, and even other human commanders feared her cold anger. Captain Park Tae-ho entered the command center with a communication tablet in his hands. His face was pale, and his hands shook slightly as he approached his commanding officer. The message he carried would change everything for humanity and for the galaxy itself. General, he said quietly, we have received an urgent transmission from New Jeju Colony. I think you need to see this immediately. Dahi took the tablet and watched the Empire broadcast. Her children's faces filled the screen for just a moment before the weapons fired. The most feared general in human space stood perfectly still as she watched her son and daughter die. Around her, the command center fell silent as officers realized what they had just witnessed. The tablet fell from Dahi's hands and shattered on the floor, but she did not move or speak. In the silence that followed, the only sound was the hum of ship systems and the distant vibration of engines. The Iron Storm had become something much more dangerous than any enemy could imagine. Captain Park Tae-ho had served under General Dahi for 8 years, and he had never seen her show fear or weakness. She had led human forces through battles that seemed impossible to win, and always found a way to victory. Her tactical mind was legendary among military commanders, and her ruthless efficiency in combat had earned her the nickname Iron Storm. But now, as he watched her stare at the broken tablet on the floor, he saw something that frightened him more than any enemy weapon. Dahi had not moved or spoken for 3 minutes. The command center remained silent as officers waited to see how their general would react to the murder of her children. Some expected her to scream or cry or destroy everything within reach. Others thought she might collapse from the shock. None of them were prepared for what actually happened. Bring me everything on Admiral Vexistar and his fleet, Dahi said in a voice so calm and cold that it made the air in the room feel frozen. I want to know the name of every ship, every officer, and every soldier under his command. I want their positions, their supply lines, their weaknesses, and their fears. She turned to face the officers in the command center, and they saw that her eyes had become like chips of ice. The grief was there, but it was locked away behind something much more dangerous. This was not the rage of a mother who had lost her children. This was the focused fury of humanity's most deadly predator. Sir, Captain Park said carefully, perhaps we should contact Fleet Command first. This attack on a civilian colony is an act of war. No, Dahi replied without raising her voice. Fleet Command will want to negotiate. They will demand proof and hold meetings and waste time with diplomatic protests. While they talk more, human children will die. She walked to the tactical display that showed star charts for this sector of the galaxy. Her fingers moved across the controls with the same precise efficiency she used for everything. Vexitar made this personal when he chose to execute children. Now it will be personal until it ends. The officers in the command center began to understand that their general was not planning to report this incident up the chain of command. She was planning something far more direct. Commander Kim Sora stepped forward from her position near the communication station. General, what are your orders? Sora asked. She commanded the special forces units attached to Dahi's fleet and had carried out many classified operations that officially never happened. If her general was planning an unauthorized mission, she would follow without question. I want full intelligence workups on every Empire target within 10 light years of New Jeju, Dahi said. Supply convoys, patrol routes, communication relays, and command stations. If the Empire wants to send messages through violence, then we will send some messages of our own. Lieutenant Choi Minho began pulling up intelligence files on his data terminal. As the fleet's tactical analysis officer, he maintained detailed records on all known Empire positions and movements. The information he had access to would surprise most people, including many high-ranking Empire officials. General, we have comprehensive data on Empire operations in this entire sector, Minho reported. Our intelligence network has been tracking their movements for over a year. This was true, although the Empire did not know it. Humans had been watching and learning ever since first contact with alien species 50 years ago. While the Empire saw humans as primitive newcomers to space travel, the reality was very different. Human intelligence services were some of the most sophisticated in the galaxy. Dahi had helped build those intelligence networks during her rise through the military ranks. She understood that information was often more valuable than weapons, and that patience could be more deadly than aggression. The Empire's greatest weakness was their assumption that other species were inferior and therefore not worth watching carefully. Show me Vextar's fleet composition and recent movements, Dahi ordered. The main display filled with detailed ship specifications and tactical assessments that would have shocked Empire commanders. Humans knew the exact capabilities of every major Empire vessel, including weaknesses in their armor and weapon systems. The Admiral commands a battle group of 12 heavy cruisers and 36 escort vessels, Minho reported. His flagship is the Dominator, a Titan-class dreadnought, with enhanced shields and long-range plasma cannons. Current position is holding orbit around New Jeju. Dahi studied the display with the same intensity she had once used to plan battles against pirate fleets and hostile alien raiders. Her mind automatically began calculating attack vectors, firing solutions, and tactical options. But this was different from any military operation she had commanded before. What do we know about Vextar personally? She asked. Park pulled up a detailed profile that included the Admiral's service record, psychological evaluation, and personal history. The Empire kept extensive records on their own officers, and human intelligence had access to most of it. Admiral Vextar has commanded Empire forces for 23 years. Park read from the file. He is known for aggressive tactics and has a reputation for making examples of species that show resistance to Empire authority. He believes that fear is the most effective tool for maintaining order. He was right about fear being effective, Dahi said quietly, but he chose the wrong target. The general's personal history was known to her senior officers, But most of the fleet personnel had never heard the full story. Dahi had been born on a frontier world called Haven that was attacked by alien raiders when she was 12 years old. Her parents had been killed along with half the colony's population, while human defense forces were too far away to help. She had survived by hiding in the ruins of her family's farm for 6 days until rescue ships arrived. The experience had changed her from a normal child into something harder and more focused than most adults. She enlisted in the military on her 18th birthday and never looked back. Dahi's rise through the ranks had been meteoric. She possessed a natural talent for strategy and tactics that her instructors had never seen before. More importantly, she had the kind of cold determination that allowed her to make difficult decisions without hesitation. Other officers respected her abilities but also feared her willingness to do whatever was necessary to achieve victory. Her marriage to a civilian doctor had surprised everyone who knew her. Dr. Lee had been treating wounded soldiers at a field hospital when they met, and somehow he had found the human warmth that existed beneath her military armor. Their children, Hansel and Yujin, had been the only thing that could make the Iron Storm smile without calculation. Now those children were dead, and the part of Dahi that had learned to be human was dying with them. What remained was the tactical, genius and ruthless efficiency that had made her the most feared commander in human space. The Empire had awakened something that should have been left sleeping. "I want detailed psychological profiles on all of Vextar's senior officers," she ordered. "Find out what they value most and what they fear most. If they have families or homeworlds that matter to them, I want locations and security assessments." "Commander." Sora understood immediately what her general was planning. This would not be a conventional military engagement with clear objectives and rules of engagement. This was going to be personal warfare designed to cause maximum psychological damage to the enemy command structure. "General, our special operations. Teams can be ready to deploy within 6 hours," Sora reported. "We have assets positioned throughout Empire space that can provide support for deep infiltration missions." "Good," Dahi replied. "But we will not rush into this. Vextar thinks he has sent a message to humanity about our place in the galaxy. We are going to send him a much clearer message about what happens when someone kills human children." Phew. Communication system chimed with an incoming transmission from Fleet Headquarters. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the main screen with the serious expression he wore during crisis situations. He had obviously heard about the attack on New Jeju and wanted to coordinate the human response. "General Dahi," Admiral Chen said, "I've received reports about the Empire attack on New Jeju. This is a serious escalation that requires immediate diplomatic protest through proper channels. I'm ordering all fleet units to maintain defensive positions while we determine our response." Dahi looked at the screen for several seconds before responding. Her voice remained calm and controlled, but everyone in the command center could feel the dangerous energy building beneath the surface. "Admiral, I understand your position," she said. "However, my fleet will be conducting independent operations in this sector for the foreseeable future. I will file a complete report when our mission is complete." "General, you are not authorized to conduct independent operations," Admiral Chen replied with growing concern. "I'm ordering you to return to base immediately for debriefing and reassignment." "I'm afraid that won't be possible, sir," Dahi said. "My communications are experiencing technical difficulties. I will re-establish contact when the problems are resolved." She signaled for the transmission to be cut before Admiral Chen could respond. The command center fell silent again as officers realized that their general had just defied direct orders from Fleet Command. They were now operating outside. "Official human military authority, sir," Captain Park said quietly. General Dahi stood before the tactical display studying supply routes and patrol patterns that crisscrossed the sector where Admiral Vextar's fleet operated. Her senior officers watched in silence as their commander traced invisible lines between Empire positions with her finger. They could see her mind working through possibilities and calculating odds with the same mechanical precision that had made her legendary. "The Empire controls this sector through fear and overwhelming firepower," she said without looking away from the display. "But fear works both ways. If we can make Vextar afraid, then his judgment will become clouded and he will make mistakes." Captain Park pulled up intelligence reports on recent Empire supply movements. The data showed a predictable pattern of cargo ships moving between established routes under heavy escort. These convoys carried everything the Empire needed to maintain their military presence, including food, fuel, weapons, and replacement parts. Their supply chain is more vulnerable than they realize, Park observed. Most convoy routes pass through at least 3 systems with minimal fleet coverage. That's because they have never faced organized resistance in this region, Dahi replied. Local species either submit completely or are eliminated. The Empire has grown careless because they believe their own propaganda about being invincible. Lieutenant Choi Min-ho activated a secondary display that showed detailed analysis of Empire convoy schedules. His work over the past year had identified patterns that even Empire logistics officers might not fully understand. Human intelligence gathering was far more sophisticated than their enemies suspected. General, we have precise timing and routes for the next 6 supply convoys, Min-ho reported. The closest one will be passing through the Kepler system in 18 hours. Light escort and valuable cargo, including medical supplies and communication equipment. Perfect, Dahi said. Commander, Sora, prepare your teams for a surgical strike. I want the convoy destroyed completely, but I also want survivors who can carry a message back to Vextar. Sora nodded and began issuing orders to her special forces units. These soldiers were trained for deep space operations and had equipment that could defeat most Empire defensive systems. More importantly, they shared their general's cold determination and would follow any order without question. What message do you want us to deliver? Sora asked. Dahi was quiet for a moment as she considered her words carefully. The message needed to be clear enough that Vextar would understand exactly why his forces were being attacked. It also needed to be threatening enough to begin the psychological warfare that would drive the Admiral toward making fatal mistakes. Tell any survivors that this attack was payment for Hansel and Yujin, she said. Make sure they understand that Admiral Vextar's decision to execute children has consequences. The human fleet moved through hyperspace toward the Kepler system with the quiet efficiency that characterized all of Dahi's operations. Her ships were not the largest or most heavily armed in human space, but they were crewed by veterans who had learned to fight with intelligence rather than brute force. The Empire was about to discover that overwhelming firepower meant nothing if you could not hit your targets. Commander Sora's strike team used modified shuttles that were invisible to most sensor systems. These craft had been developed specifically for operations behind enemy lines and incorporated technology that the Empire had never encountered. Human research into stealth and electronic warfare had advanced far beyond what most alien species thought possible. The Empire convoy consisted of 6 cargo ships protected by 2 heavy cruisers and 8 fighter escorts. Under normal circumstances, this would be more than enough firepower to destroy any threat in this region. The convoy commander was not expecting attack and had grown complacent during routine patrol duties. Unknown contacts approaching from multiple vectors, reported the convoy's sensor officer. Configuration does not match any known ship types in our database. Impossible, replied the convoy commander. No species in this region possesses military technology advanced enough to threaten Empire forces. Those were the last words he spoke, before Sora's teams destroyed his ship with precision strikes that turned the heavy cruiser into expanding debris. The attack had been planned with surgical precision and executed with ruthless efficiency. Within minutes, 4 of the cargo ships were destroyed, and both escort cruisers were crippled beyond repair. The surviving cargo ships and their crews found themselves surrounded by human vessels that had appeared from nowhere and demonstrated capabilities far beyond Empire intelligence estimates. Sora opened communication channels with the surviving ships and delivered General Dahi's message exactly as ordered. This attack was payment for Hansol and Yujin, she said, in perfect Empire standard language. Admiral Vextar's decision to execute children has consequences. Tell your commander that the debt has only begun to be collected. The human ships vanished back into hyperspace before Empire reinforcements could respond to the convoy's distress calls. When rescue vessels finally arrived, they found 3 destroyed cargo ships, 2 crippled cruisers, and crew members who babbled about impossible human technology and threats against their admiral. Admiral Vextar received the report while still in orbit around New Jeju, where he had been conducting additional interrogations of human civilians. The news that a supply convoy had been destroyed by human forces seemed impossible, given everything the Empire knew about human military capabilities. How many ships were involved in the attack? He demanded from the surviving convoy officer who appeared on his communication screen. At least 12, sir, the officer replied nervously. They appeared without warning and demonstrated weapon systems we have never encountered. Their targeting was precise, and their coordination was perfect. 12. Ships, Vextar repeated with growing anger. Human military intelligence reports show no concentrations of their forces in this sector. Where did these ships come from? The convoy officer had no answer to give his admiral. Human ships had simply appeared, destroyed most of the convoy, and vanished again without leaving any trace of their origin or destination. It was as if they had materialized from empty space specifically to attack Empire forces. Sir, there is something else. The officer continued reluctantly. The humans who attacked us delivered a specific message. They said this was payment for Han Sol and Yujin, and that Admiral Vextar's decision to execute children has consequences. Vextar's 4 eyes widened with surprise. Those were the names of the 2 human children he had ordered executed in New Jeju's town square. Somehow the humans knew exactly who had been responsible for their deaths, and they were responding with military action rather than diplomatic protests. Find out everything about human military positions in this sector, Vextar ordered his intelligence staff. I want to know where these ships came from and how many more they might have hidden. But Empire intelligence had very little useful information about human military capabilities. The Empire had always dismissed humans as a primitive species with limited technology and small defensive fleets. No one had bothered to conduct detailed surveillance of human space or analyze their true military potential. General Dahi received Sora's after-action report while planning the next phase of her campaign against Admiral Vextar. The convoy attack had been a complete success with minimal human casualties and maximum psychological impact on Empire forces. More importantly, it had demonstrated that human ships could strike anywhere within the Empire's assumed sphere of control. Excellent work, Commander, Dahi said as she reviewed the tactical data. Now Vextar knows that we can reach him wherever he goes. The next step is to make him understand that nowhere in the galaxy is safe for child killers. Captain Park activated. Intelligence reports showing Empire reaction to the convoy attack. Communication intercepts revealed growing confusion and concern among Empire commanders who had never faced organized resistance from human forces. Their assumptions about human weakness were being challenged by evidence they could not ignore. Admiral Vextar has requested reinforcements from Sector Command, Park reported. He's also ordered increased patrols and enhanced security for all supply operations. Good, Dahi replied. Fear is making him defensive. Defensive commanders make predictable choices, and predictable choices can be exploited. The general turned to Lieutenant Minho, who was analyzing Empire communication traffic for patterns and weaknesses. Human code-breaking technology was far more advanced than the Empire suspected, and most of their military communications were easily intercepted and decoded. What can you tell me about Empire morale and confidence levels? She asked. Communication traffic shows significant concern among junior officers, Minho reported. They are beginning to question their intelligence about human capabilities. Several commanders have requested updated threat assessments for this entire sector. This was exactly the reaction Dahi had hoped to achieve. The Empire's greatest strength was their absolute confidence in their own superiority over other species. If that confidence could be shaken, then their decision-making would become compromised, and their tactical coordination would suffer. Prepare for the second phase, she ordered. I want simultaneous strikes against Empire communication relays in 4 different systems. Admiral Vextar stared at the tactical display, showing the locations of 15 destroyed Empire installations scattered across 4 star systems. Each attack had been precise and devastating, with minimal survivors left to report what had happened. The humans were not just striking random targets, but systematically dismantling the Empire's ability to control this entire sector of space. Sir, we have received new orders from Empire High Command, reported Captain Zor as he approached the Admiral's command chair. We are ordered to withdraw to Fortress Kravok and await reinforcements before continuing operations against human forces. Fortress Kravok was the Empire's most heavily defended position in this region of space. Built into a massive asteroid, it contained enough firepower to destroy entire fleets and supplies to withstand a siege lasting several months. If the Empire was ordering a withdrawal to their strongest position, it meant that High Command was finally taking the human threat seriously. How long until the reinforcements arrive? Vextar asked, although he suspected he already knew the answer. The Empire's bureaucracy moved slowly, and most commanders still believed that humans were a minor nuisance that could be handled by local forces. Estimated arrival time is 6 weeks, sir, Zor replied. High Command considers our situation to be under control and has given priority to other sectors where fighting is more intense. Vextar felt a cold anger building in his chest. The Empire's leaders were safe in their palaces far from the front lines and had no understanding of what was happening here. They saw reports about destroyed supply convoys and damaged communication stations, but they did not understand that these attacks represented a level of military coordination that humans were supposedly incapable of achieving. 6 weeks, the Admiral repeated. In 6 weeks, these humans could destroy everything we have built in this sector. But retreat to Fortress Kravok was not just about defensive positioning, it was also about salvaging Vextar's reputation and career. The Admiral who had promised to teach humans their proper place in the galaxy was now running from human military forces. His superiors would not forget this failure, and his enemies within the Empire would use it against him. General Dahi received intelligence reports about the Empire fleet's withdrawal with quiet satisfaction. Her psychological warfare campaign was working exactly as planned. Vextar was no longer thinking like a confident commander, but like a frightened animal seeking the safety of its den. He's making the mistake I hoped he would make, she told her senior staff during the morning briefing. By withdrawing to a fixed position, he has given up his mobility advantage and made himself predictable. Captain Park studied the intelligence data about Fortress Kravok that human agents had gathered over many months. The installation was indeed heavily defended, but it also had weaknesses that its designers had never considered because they assumed no enemy would be sophisticated enough to exploit them. General, the fortress has impressive firepower, but its sensors have blind spots, Park reported. The asteroid's composition interferes with certain types of detection equipment. Show me, Dahi ordered. The main display switched to a detailed tactical analysis of Fortress Kravok's defensive systems. Human intelligence had identified 17 separate vulnerabilities, including sensor shadows and overlapping fields of fire, that created gaps in coverage. Commander Sora leaned forward to study the display with professional interest. Her special forces teams had trained for assault operations against heavily fortified positions, and she could already see several possible approaches that might succeed where conventional attacks would fail. The fortress was designed to repel fleet-scale assaults, Sora observed, but the architects assumed that attacking forces would use Empire tactical doctrine. They never planned for the kind of infiltration and sabotage operations that we specialize in. Lieutenant Minho activated additional displays showing Empire communication intercepts and supply movement data. The intelligence picture was becoming clearer as more information arrived from human agents positioned throughout Empire space. General, we have confirmation that Admiral Vexitar's fleet has arrived at Fortress Kravok, Minho reported. 48 ships total, including his flagship. They appear to be preparing for extended defensive operations. Perfect, Dahi said. Now they are trapped in a position where their mobility is limited and their escape routes are predictable. It's time to spring the trap we have been building. The trap Dahi referred to was not just the tactical advantage of having Empire forces confined to a single location. Over the past weeks, human intelligence operatives had been infiltrating Empire supply lines, communication networks, and even some military installations. The groundwork had been laid for an operation that would demonstrate the true extent of human capabilities. All fleet commanders report ready for Phase 3 operations, Captain Park announced as confirmation signals arrived from human ships positioned throughout the sector. What the Empire did not realize was that Dahi commanded far more than a single battle group. Through careful coordination, she had assembled a strike force that included assets from across human space. Execute Phase 3, Dahi ordered. Across 12 star systems, human forces launched simultaneous attacks against Empire positions with precision and coordination that stunned enemy commanders. These were not random raids but carefully planned. Operations designed to isolate Fortress Kravok and prevent any possibility of reinforcement or resupply. The attacks followed patterns that Empire tactical analysts had never encountered before. Instead of seeking direct confrontation, human forces used mobility deception and superior intelligence to achieve maximum damage with minimal losses. Empire commanders found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to engage according to established rules of warfare. Admiral Vextar watched the tactical reports flow into Fortress Kravok's command center with growing desperation. Every Empire installation within 3 days' travel was either destroyed or under attack. Supply convoys were being hunted down and eliminated before they could deliver essential materials. Communication relays were being systematically destroyed to prevent coordination with other Empire forces. "Sir, we are completely cut off," Captain Zor reported. "All supply lines have been severed, and we cannot establish contact with any other Empire units in this sector." "How is this possible?" Vextar demanded. "Human intelligence estimated their total military strength at less than 50 ships. How can they be attacking positions across 12 star systems simultaneously?" The answer was that Empire intelligence had been completely wrong about human military capabilities. What they had dismissed as a primitive species with limited technology was actually a sophisticated military power that had been carefully hiding its true strength for decades. "Sir, we are receiving a communication from the human fleet," reported the Fortress communications officer. "They are requesting to speak with Admiral Vextar directly." "Put them through," Vextar ordered. He needed to understand who he was fighting and what they wanted from him. General Dahi's face appeared on the main display, and Admiral Vextar got his first look at the human commander who had been systematically dismantling his forces. She appeared calm and controlled, but her eyes held a coldness that made even the experienced Empire Admiral feel uncomfortable. "Admiral Vextar," Dahi said in perfect Empire standard language. "I am General Lee Dahi of the Human Defense Forces. You murdered my children Hansol and Yujin in New Jeju Colony. Now you will face the consequences of that decision." "General," Vextar replied while trying to maintain his composure, "your people showed disrespect to Empire authority. The executions were necessary to maintain order." "No," Dahi said with deadly calm. "The executions were the mistake of an arrogant commander who believed he could murder children without consequences. You were wrong." The human general gestured toward something off-screen, and the tactical display at Fortress Kravok updated to show new contact signatures. Dozens of human ships had appeared at the edge of sensor range and were moving into attack formation. "You have two choices, Admiral," Dahi continued. "You can surrender yourself and your senior officers for trial as war criminals, or you can fight and be destroyed along with everyone under your command." Vextar looked around the command center at his officers who were staring at the display in shock. The human fleet was larger and more advanced than anyone had believed possible. Their ships incorporated technology that the Empire had never seen before, and their coordination was flawless. "You cannot threaten the Galactic Empire," Vextar said, although his voice lacked conviction. "We have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. One primitive species cannot challenge our authority. You are about to discover just how primitive we really are," Dahi replied. "You have 30 minutes to consider my offer. After that, my fleet will demonstrate why killing human children was the worst mistake of your very short remaining life." The communication ended, and Fortress Kravok's command center fell silent, except for the hum of defensive systems powering up for battle. Admiral Vextar realized that he faced an enemy unlike any the Empire had encountered before. These humans did not fight for territory or resources or political advantage. They fought for revenge, and they possessed the capability to achieve it. "Sir, what are you?" The battle for Fortress Kravok lasted exactly 47 minutes from the first shot to Admiral Vextar's final surrender. General Dahi had not been exaggerating when she promised to demonstrate why killing human children was a fatal mistake. Her fleet attacked with coordination and precision that overwhelmed the fortress defenses completely. Human ships used weapons technology that Empire scientists had never encountered, and defensive systems that made their vessels nearly impossible to target effectively. What the Empire had dismissed as primitive human engineering was actually sophisticated military hardware that had been developed in secret over many years. Admiral Vextar watched his fleet being systematically destroyed from the Fortress Command Center. His ships were outgunned, outmaneuvered, and outfought by an enemy that refused to engage according to any tactical doctrine the Empire understood. Within 30 minutes, half of his vessels were either destroyed or crippled beyond repair. "Sir, the humans are demanding our surrender," Captain Zor reported as another Empire cruiser exploded on the tactical display. "They say they will accept nothing less than unconditional surrender of all personnel." Vextar knew that surrender meant facing trial for war crimes and almost certain execution, but continuing to fight meant watching the rest of his officers and crew die for his mistake. The admiral who had ordered the execution of 2 human children now faced the same choice those children had been given. "All Empire vessels cease fire and prepare to surrender," he ordered. "Lower shields and prepare for boarding." The words felt like poison in his mouth, but Vextar could see no alternative. General Dahi had demonstrated that human military capabilities far exceeded anything the Empire had imagined. Continued resistance would only result in more unnecessary deaths among his remaining personnel. Human boarding teams secured Fortress Kravok and the surviving Empire ships with professional efficiency. Commander Sora personally led the team that arrested Admiral Vextar and his senior officers. The Empire commanders who had believed themselves to be the galaxy's master race now found themselves prisoners of the species they had considered inferior. "Admiral Vexitar," Sora said as restraints were placed on the 4-armed alien. "You are under arrest for war crimes, including the murder of civilian children. General Dahi wants to speak with you personally before your trial." Vexitar was escorted to the Fortress Communications Center where General Dahi appeared on the main display. The human general studied her prisoner with cold satisfaction as he was forced to kneel before the screen. The roles had been completely reversed from their previous communication. Admiral Dahi said quietly, "You killed my children because you believed that humans were weak and would not respond to violence against civilians. You were wrong about our strength, and you were wrong about our determination. Your people will pay for this aggression," Vextar replied, although his voice lacked conviction. "The Empire will not tolerate attacks against our forces." "The Empire no longer has any forces in this sector," Dahi informed him. "While you were hiding in your fortress, my fleets have been destroying every Empire installation within 50 light years. Your supply lines are cut, your communication networks are down, and your reinforcements are not coming." This was true, although the full extent of human military operations was only now becoming clear. General Dahi had not been commanding a single battle group as the Empire believed. Through careful coordination, she had assembled and deployed human military assets across a region of space larger than most entire species controlled. "Impossible," Vexitar said. "Human military strength is insufficient for operations of this scale." "Human military strength has been deliberately underestimated," Dahi replied. "We allowed other species to believe we were weak and primitive, while we built fleets and developed weapons in secret. Your Empire's arrogance made you the perfect target for this deception." The truth was that humanity had been preparing for galactic warfare since their first contact with alien species 50 years ago. Human leaders had understood that survival in a hostile galaxy would require military strength that other species respected and feared. The peaceful farming colonies and civilian settlements were only the visible face of human expansion. "You will stand trial for the murder of Han Sol and Yu Jin along with the other civilians you killed at New Jeju," Dahi continued. "The proceedings will be broadcast throughout the galaxy so that other species understand what happens to those who harm human children." The trial of Admiral Vextar and his senior officers lasted 3 days and was indeed broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Evidence of Empire war crimes was presented by human prosecutors, while representatives from dozens of other species watched the proceedings with growing amazement. For the first time in galactic history, a major Empire commander was being held accountable for crimes against civilians. The trial demonstrated that the Empire's claim to absolute authority was no longer unquestioned. More importantly, it showed that humans possessed both the military strength and political sophistication to challenge Empire dominance. Admiral Vextar was found guilty on all charges and executed by the same method he had used to kill Dahi's children. The other Empire officers received various sentences ranging from imprisonment to exile, depending on their level of involvement in the new Jeju massacre, but the trial was only the beginning of changes that would reshape the entire galaxy. General Dahi used her victory over Empire forces to announce humanity's emergence as a major galactic power. Human fleets appeared in dozens of star systems to protect human colonies and establish permanent military bases. The Age of Empire. Dominance is ending, Dahi declared during a speech broadcast from the captured Fortress Krevok. Humanity will no longer accept the role of junior species subject to alien authority. We claim our rightful place as equals in the galactic community. The reaction from other species was immediate and dramatic. Worlds that had suffered under Empire oppression began declaring independence and requesting human military assistance. Trade agreements that had favored Empire interests were cancelled in favor of deals with human corporations. Captain Park coordinated the establishment of human administrative control over former Empire territories, while Commander Sora led military expeditions to assist other species in their liberation efforts. Lieutenant Minho managed the integration of captured Empire technology into human military systems. Within 6 months, the political map of the galaxy had been completely redrawn. The Empire that had ruled unchallenged for 3,000 years found itself reduced to a fraction of its former territory and influence. Other species that had been forced to submit to Empire authority now looked to humanity for protection and leadership. General Dahi established her headquarters at Fortress Krevok, which was renamed New Seoul in honor of Earth's ancient capital. From this base, she coordinated human military operations across dozens of star systems and oversaw the creation of a new galactic order based on mutual cooperation rather than domination. The Memorial Garden at New Jeju Colony became a pilgrimage site for humans throughout the galaxy. Visitors came to honor Hansol and Yujin, whose deaths had triggered humanity's transformation from victims to victors. Their names were inscribed on monuments erected on every human world. They died as children playing in their grandmother's garden, Dahi said during the memorial dedication ceremony. But their deaths awakened something in humanity that will ensure no human child ever suffers their fate again. Standing in the same town square where her children had been murdered, Dahi watched human soldiers training with local civilians to defend their world. The peaceful farming colony had become a symbol of human determination and a warning to any species that might consider threatening human civilians. The Empire made several attempts to reclaim their lost territories, but each effort was defeated by human forces that demonstrated increasingly sophisticated military capabilities. Empire commanders learned that humans fought with intelligence and determination that made conventional victory impossible. Other galactic powers began approaching humanity with offers of alliance and mutual defense agreements. Species that had remained neutral during the Empire's reign now sought human protection against remaining Imperial forces. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted permanently. General Dahi accepted the title of Protector of Human Space, but she never forgot the price that had been paid for humanity's emergence as a galactic power. Her children's deaths had unleashed a transformation that elevated humanity from a species that begged for peace to one that enforced it through strength. Years later, when historians studied the fall of the Galactic Empire, they would identify the execution of 2 human children in a colony town square as the moment when everything changed. Admiral Vextar had intended to send a message about Empire strength and human weakness. Instead, he had awakened a sleeping giant that would reshape the galaxy forever. The Iron Storm had become something more than just a military commander. She was the mother whose love for her children had given humanity the strength to claim its destiny among the stars. Her legacy would endure long after the last Empire stronghold had fallen, and the galaxy had learned to live under humanity's protection.